Friends, now we have a panel discussion. I will invite Prajal Saha to moderate the panel. Prajal is founder editor of HR Katha. I'm sure many of us have been reading HR Katha every day. I read it since I think almost about 2 years now, and it's a great, I would say, a great HR newspaper which comes on a daily basis, and it also has a monthly magazine. Prajal has got a long list of achievements. So I would request Prajal to introduce himself and then introduce the three panel members and then take ahead the discussion. Over to you, Prajal.
Thank you, Mehul. So good morning, friends. Hope everyone is having a great day, and I hope everyone is doing fine. We should not pray to stay fine during these unprecedented times, and thanks, Mehul, for organizing this. It's been a great effort. I've been attending this one since morning, and there is some great discussions have been on board. Okay, today we are here to discuss, enhancing employee performance post COVID-19, and I have with me on panel three distinguished people managers from three different countries, so quite a diverse panel, I must say. So first we have Rudy Manik. He is the CHRO of FWD Insurance from Indonesia. He has worked across sectors from insurance, consumer electronics, hospitality, marketing and communications and all. Next, we have Surani Amerasinghe. She is head of HR for Lion Brewery, Sri Lanka. She has been a hotelier, and she has worked across Asia, including China, India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and she has also worked in the UK. Okay, now let's get back to the discussion today, and let me put forward, let me start with a question, what is productivity or performance? Is it output or is it outcome? I think the output is a way and a very IR way of looking at things. Totally an output-driven activity, generally which industries or companies since the industrial revolutions used to follow. An outcome is the modern way and a smart way of getting at it. I think productivity or performance comes with a mindset, and productivity and performance can be enhanced with the smart use of technology. Another aspect that I think is that, nothing can become bad or worse overnight. If you have not focused on something before, it would have deteriorated and become critical factor during the pandemic. I've been speaking to a lot of HR professionals, that's what my profession is. And now management is questioning on productivity and performance, which wasn't earlier. Next, we talk about agility. We are all talking about work from home, telecommuting, and we are saying that, the employees needs to be agile and needs to adapt to, working from home and telecommuting. What organizations should also do is they need to adapt fast. They also need to adapt to the new environment. I know of a small, there are companies actually. This is the time of disruption, and companies are actually, finding out new ways to, new ways of working. I know of a large IT company. It's not one of the largest, but what they did a very simple thing to enhance productivity and performance during the time of COVID. While they were working out of office, they had divided the team into 100 or 150 members or 200 members in a particular project. Now, what they did was they created microcosm or even small, smaller teams within those larger teams with certain accountability and delivery mechanism. Now, the team size, what they divided was instead of 100, they made it 10, 5, 15 member teams with very clear designated responsibilities. Today, from the panel, what I would like to know is how are they coping up with this situation in their respective companies. Let's start with Rudy. Rudy, would you like to say, what has been, how has been the effect of the pandemic and work from home culture, or the new normal, as we might say, in Indonesia, and how are you guys coping up it? It's also about the employees, how are they taking it? It's not about, the organization setting its own rule and, bringing in a change.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Pranjal. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. We have heard so many insightful from our honorable speakers. Now let's hear some different perspective from us as a practitioner right now in the company. Since we are now in the new normal, I would say that the post-COVID will not be the new normal, but the next normal. All of you know there have been so many studies done with different institutions on how we embrace the new normal as an impact of COVID-19, also post-COVID-19, which is our next normal. The questions for us as a company, are we returning back to the way we worked before, or adapting the new ways of working in our organizations? I believe one common understanding is that we will never return to the old ways of working or doing business. In many countries like Indonesia, we have started reopening our offices after lockdown period. We call it here as large-scale social restrictions. So as an employers, we have put in place some communications planning infrastructure to reopen the office, while of course making sure the health and safety of our employees becoming still priority. But then there is a strong need to accelerate organizations and people capability to rebound and to grow in the next normal. Because we should admit that in our country right now, there are the big negative impact due to this COVID-19 pandemic situations. We could also see, in fact, beside the negative impact of the COVID-19 to the business, it also has created or strengthened some critical factors that have been help us to go through this kind of situations. You can see, like for example, number one is decisiveness. Because we are pushed to take actions in urgency situations. Secondly is the collaborations. Here as a company, we are forced to collaborate with different stakeholders to help us continuing our business and also still stay relevant with our customers. Number three, we can also see the agility. Things are changing so fast in such situations. So we need, as an organization, we need to be able to assess all this the environment and be able also to adapt quickly and be ready with the new change. And also innovations. There is no way we can operate in an old and traditional way. We should change and adapt faster in such situations. And my suggestion, if your company doesn't have it, you better start to find a new job. That's my suggestions. And then the latest one is empathy. Not only Indonesia, but also all countries are impacted by this COVID-19. At employee levels, remote working arrangements has created some pressure in different regions, whether because of the worries of the impact of this virus to our health, job, or business, or maybe insufficient technology support to our employees that impact their speed and deliverables. And also, we should admit also prolonged work hours. As enough practitioners, we should be aware with these situations. All those situations have negatively impacted the mental wellness as well, which is at the end will impact the performance. During the crisis, we as a company also see some initiative that we can duplicate in our organizations. on how they are trying to build the performance of their employees. Number one that we can learn is equip the employees with technology, of course. You just mentioned about that, Ranja. Because when you are working remotely, of course, technology is something that you must have. And secondly, how we streamline some operating models. If we go to the remote working arrangements, but we still continue our current operating model, it will give some stress to employees as well. And of course, with the different tools that we equip to the employees, we should also do some adjustment to the operating model. And then in HR, we try also to develop and strengthen online learning platform and learning offer, of course, to keep employee developed. Some skills which is becoming very relevant nowadays in our organization, like how we interact with the team in a remote working arrangements with the peers and also customers. And then the last one we can see also on how we create and develop new wellness program to support our employees to cope this new normal and tomorrow with the next normal. Maybe some approach that I would propose then what we are trying to do as well in organizations to try to enhance our employee performance now and post-COVID. Number one is, of course, employees still human, even though they are working at the office or at home. There are, for me, 4 key success factors that already exist, but it will still relevant to improve performance. Number one is, of course, empower people to make decisions. This is even more relevant right now. If you are managing like now remote working setup, the more you keep the decision-making process at the top, it will be very challenging for employees to perform. And then secondly, the share responsibility, because when they are split in the different locations, we need to build sense of togetherness that we are doing this to achieve common goals. And then number 3, as well, how we can still create the purpose. This is something that we are facing right now. If the communications, physical interactions with the employees, even right now not as easy as we can do before COVID, the feeling of sharing the same purpose could be reduced as well. And this is very critical for the organizations. If we cannot keep the feel of same purpose, it will impact the performance as well. And of course, on how we can focus on the result. Sometimes what leaders are facing in the remote working environments, sometimes they focus more into the activities of the employees. It will only give them more pressure and pressure. It will not give their positive impact to the productivity. So we try to encourage our leaders to focus on the result instead of checking the daily activities, of course. And then that's number one. And secondly, of course, in the new kind of situations, there are a couple key success factors that we are observing right now. Number one is creating organizations and people resilience. We should shift our company operating model from responsive to resilience. In the responsive approach, the control is placed in the central, and then the execution distributed to all the employees. And then, but in the resilience organizations, we should distribute the control. What we centralize is coordinations. So with this kind of arrangements, we can improve the speed and the quality of response. Of course, when you get the speed and the quality, it will impact also the performance of our employees. And then number 3 is the number 2 on the new key success factor is leading agility. We should think again on what kind of new skills that we need to equip our employees with this new COVID-19 situations. And then on whether is there anything that we can improve in our current employee experience that can help them to perform better. And then the last one is, of course, the accelerating technology. This is the new key success factors that we are trying to implement as well as the impact of the COVID. Supporting remote working arrangements, automation, simplifying operating model, increase speed, maximizing human error, minimizing human error, and how might we ethically leverage technology to monitor also engagement, and how we can also adopt the technology to improve communications within the employees. Maybe there are some quotes and that we are looking from practitioner point of view, Prajal. You are still on mute.
Okay, thanks, Rudy. Over to Surani. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So what's happening at Sri Lanka? How are you coping? You guys coping up with the situation out there?
I personally think we are coping out quite well.
Yeah.
But I do want to add some points to what Rudy was saying.
Yeah.
One of the main areas that we found here is that first and foremost, we realized the roles are shifting. We realized our employees are now doing roles or new roles that they have never been trained to do. And that was the first and foremost thing that we had to consider when we started our performance management process. Similarly, we had communication challenges because previously our line managers, our management are so used to having these individuals right in front of them, these individuals working where they could monitor. Okay, so let me get back. So we found two things. One is the fact that the roles were changing. All of a sudden, we were expecting our people to do roles that they've never been trained to do. Second and foremost, the communication aspect of it. For the first time and for the current time or the time being, we actually needed to start trusting our employees to hold themselves accountable. It's no more the managers following up, the employees or our team members had to hold themselves accountable. But if you really look at performance management, I didn't see a drastic change because first and foremost, we do need to start thinking, what is our purpose? What is the purpose of doing a performance management? And I don't think whether it's COVID or not, that purpose has really changed. Because for us, we are still trying to help your employees become as strong as possible to be able to perform their job and to be able to push the organization's goals. So that purpose has not changed post-COVID. Second is that we've had to look at exactly what are we evaluating. So yes, our purpose has not changed, and I don't think we really have to discount performance management and instead question ourselves exactly what are we trying to evaluate. And here, so I explained to you about the purpose, where for all purposes, the purpose does not change. We are still trying to help our employees to become strong as possible, so they themselves can deal on the company's objective. So the purpose of performance management has not changed. Secondly, what are we really evaluating? Previously, we would be evaluating on KPIs, but if you really look at all our goals, majority of the companies, the goals may not be applicable at this stage. And instead, we've had to reevaluate exactly what are we evaluating. And I found simple things like resilience and capacity to adapt as one of the areas that we can start evaluating. Teamwork and collaboration was another that we found was vital to start evaluating. And here we were not evaluating from a, let's performance manage somebody out. Does this person have it or not? And therefore, is this person suitable to continue their employment in the organizations? But instead, to evaluate those 4 key areas that we could end up developing them, and that would help us in the long term. Because as we are all aware, we don't know what tomorrow is going to be. It's very difficult for us to even gauge what our markets are going to be. And therefore, for us, the most vital in our people is actually resilience and capability to adapt, and teamwork and collaboration. So we shifted, or I would recommend shifting from task-based evaluation to at least these behavioral-based KPIs, simply again for development rather than performance managing. Thirdly, I think we also have to understand this is a completely different situation for every one of us. Overnight, from being corporate professionals, they've had to adapt to a lot of uncertainty in the markets, job insecurities, having to deal with kids working and studying from home. And I think, like one of our previous speakers mentioned, yes, you know, you're wearing your suit on top, and you are a husband or housewife while doing your day-to-day corporate work. So that is important for us to understand, and it's really vital that we do allow our employees to get to or look at delivery or the performance or achievement rather than how they have achieved it. So they may work 2 hours a day, they may work 5 hours a day or 10 hours a day, but have they delivered is what's more important than how. I think another area that I personally feel is really, really important is that, do we even start talking about a rating? Is there a 1, 2, 3 or excellent, exceeding expectations, or non-performer? Do we really go into that at this stage? And rather put on a development mode so that we can actually support the transition of an organization from practically everything being laid out, the future all planned out, to an ambiguous future. That's it from me.
Okay. Rudy, what do you think, has the trust for the employees increased, in your company or in your country? Do you think, the employees, the employees are trusting their employees much more right now, or they don't have any option than to trust, because they are working from home? So do you think that the trust factor has increased between the employer and employee, and that has played a key role in terms of performance, enhancing performance?
Yeah, exactly. One thing that we should do regularly during the remote working arrangement is to communicate with the employees. There are many ways that you can create that kind of communications platform. Either you do like an online phone call, or you can also do some survey. For example, in our organizations, for the past 3.5 months, we have done like 4 times survey. So this is just to check, to make sure that what kind of feelings that they are facing right now, including what kind of perceptions that they have towards the organization during the remote working. And then with that kind of survey, we can detect and do actions directly. And based on 4 times survey, we can see that we can put like very direct questions. What do you think the transparent communication delivered by the organizations during the working from home? And the trend is very positive because we also create some communication platform, not only for certain positions, but also for all employees. We are lucky with this kind of like Zoom. I don't want to promote one brand, but it's only for example. We can gather like 600 employees at the same time. So I agree with you. Communication is number one, and we should make sure that they still trust the company by continuous event regarding the communications.
Okay, thanks, Rudy. Surani, what do you think? What should we do now? We should let the time stride over right now, and then focus on performance later, because this is a very unprecedented time, and it's a very difficult time. We can't be talking about performance right now, right there, every time. I know it's important for the business. I know the business should go on.
Exactly. It's actually a bit of a tricky question, because in reality, as an organization, performance is vital. And especially today, where majority of the organizations are finding it difficult to survive and sustain themselves. So having said that, you read anything or what you hear is that you have to be very empathetic, you have to be fair, you have to give a longer rope, I guess, for all our employees. But for me, I strongly feel evaluation is vital. Simply because unless the organization survives and can sustain themselves, there is no survival or sustainability for our employees as well. So what I personally would recommend is, yes, a performance management should continue, but rather than using it to move people out or to reduce their comp and ben, I think it's more vital to use it more as a development tool. Because what I learned during the last 3-4 months is that, like I said, we've found all of what we're spending on our not be adequate, because it's an all new world. The competencies that we thought were right for our organizations have had to be relooked at. And therefore, we've just finished a performance cycle ourselves here. And what we've done is we've taken a look at what are those competency gaps. What is it that we need to start implementing to try and get our people across to the way that this organization needs to perform. So I'll give you a good example. We are an FMCG. But because we are an alcohol company, especially in Sri Lanka, it is a dark market. So what our people would do, the salespeople would do, would be practically door-to-door selling, going out into the trade and pushing the product out. Now with practically partial lockdown, ability for these people to be going out there has changed. Or it's just not possible. And therefore, all of a sudden, even our brands need to start moving from creating a want in the need of the consumer. So rather than, okay, let's just brand our logos everywhere and then just make all the loud noise, in a dark market, hey, how do we still communicate to the consumer? And therefore, it's a completely different skill set that's required, a different competency that's required. So similarly, we've had to reevaluate the competencies required for our management, reevaluate the competencies that's required for our sales workforce, and so on and so forth. So for me, yes, the performance management process is important and it should continue to be there. But I think in the immediate future and maybe even 12 to 18 months down the line, we will still have to look at a development angle rather than just a rewards and comp and ben angle or a performance management angle.
So you're saying that the performance management has to happen, because that's important for the business, but the parameters have to be changed, we have to set new parameters and,
more so than parameters. Yeah, more so than parameters, it's actually the purpose again. What is the purpose of us doing this performance management? And for me, I feel for the next 12 to 18 months, it would be to try and get our teams from what they have been trained, to get them to work in an ambiguous environment where we wouldn't know what tomorrow brings. All new skill sets are required, both functional competencies as well as leadership competencies will need to be reevaluated and trained accordingly. So that's where I'm saying. So rather than performance management or rather than using performance management as a mode of comp and ben or exit non-performers, it should be more so on a development point of view, because this is an ideal opportunity to start mapping those new competencies and provide that development. So that's where I would look at from a performance management process at this stage.
It's more of a skill finder, it's finding out new talent within the organization. That's what you're saying. Okay. Yeah, Rudy.
How do we keep people busy during this period? For me, don't be bothered to keep them busy, like we discussed earlier.
Yeah.
Again, don't control the activity, but control the result. So, but then how they can understand what is expected from them on day-to-day, weekly, or monthly basis, the communications, the regular communication is very critical.
Okay. Thanks, Rudy. Thanks, Surani. I think it was a wonderful discussion today. We talked about trust. How we talked about how the outcome is more important rather than the way we are doing it, as Rudy said. I think it's over to Mehul. Wonderful having you guys, and I really enjoyed this.
Thank you, Prajal.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Surani. Thank you, Rudy.
Thank you, Prajal. And yes, you all of you really brought in a lot of value to us.